Welcome everyone to this interview with Adam, aka Blu Productions. He is the creator of Total Drama Reunion, and I will let him introduce himself to you guys.
Hey guys, my name's Adam. If you don't know who I am, my YouTube channel is called Blu Productions. And basically I created the fan project, Total Drama Reunion. And I must specify it was a fan project. It was not associated with the studio in any way. So yeah, that's me.
Oh, we will definitely be getting into the fan project versus the studio kind of feel in this interview. But to start us off, I kind of want to know how you first got started doing this animation type thing or production or whatever you were doing. Because I saw the episode that got released of the show and your name was in the credits a lot. Like every single credit was pretty much you. So what made you want to get started in this whole production thing and whatever sides of it you're on?
I guess to start at the beginning, my last semester of college, I was in a design class, and I remember I did a group project with a few people, and somehow we were just chatting about whatever. I think we were chatting about our favorite cartoons as a kid, and somehow the idea of sort of bringing back old cartoons that we loved came up. And so that's kind of how the idea was born. And so then from there, I kind of just decided to take it into my own hands, I suppose, and start just creating stuff. I loved the show, obviously, as a kid, so it was like a passion project, but it was also a way for me to sort of brush up on my like design skills, I suppose you could say. It's been a great way for me to practice. I've certainly learned a lot like through the process. So yeah, that's how it started, and then from there it kind of just snowballed, which was crazy. But yeah, that's basically how it started.
So going back a bit, for those who might not know, who might be listening to this or watching this, coming from maybe some of my other channels or somewhere else, who might not understand or have no knowledge of what total drama is to begin with, can you explain your history as a fan of the show and why you love it so much and why you wanted this to do another season of this show on your own?
So basically the show, the basic premise is that it's a parody of Survivor. So there's a bunch of cartoon kids, and they're all teenagers, and they're all on an island, and they have to compete in challenges and vote each other out until there's only one left. And just something about that format, just I was obsessed with it because I think that was the first cartoon that I was really invested in, like because it was so serialized. Like you want to tune in every week to see like who goes and like who's left at the end. So yeah, I don't know. It was just it seemed different to a lot of other cartoons that were coming out at the time to me. And so I think that's really drew me towards it. Um, yeah. So and it lasted quite a few seasons. And then I think they made a spin-off, which was, the format is very different. I think it centers around the characters, but they're much younger. And so the idea behind the project was I sort of wanted to create something that might appeal to the older fans that sort of grew up with the show. So yeah, that's kind of where my headspace was at on the whole premise of what I wanted to accomplish.
So just for everyone out there who's not aware of this show, for the comparison between the original series and the spin-off with the kid season, think Teen Titans versus Teen Titans Go. That's kind of what it is.
Yeah.
So just giving everyone some context on that. So when did this first start up? Like when did you first get an inkling that you wanted to do this, and what were your first steps towards making it happen? Because these fan seasons there's been lots of talk about them for years. People have tried making them, but none of them made it as far as this show did, actually being produced and looking like the real thing.
Okay, so when I first like sort of started creating stuff about it and putting stuff out into the public, I think the first thing I created was a poster. So like I created a poster with all the characters on it, and to sort of like show their grown-up designs. And somehow that got circulating on Twitter, and I think it kind of blew up on Italian Twitter, which was interesting. And so I think that was the first time that a lot of people sort of caught wind of the project. And then I started posting on YouTube, and obviously that's when it really started going crazy. So yeah, those were sort of the first steps. Those were the early days of the project, basically.
So what's
Yeah.
the timeline of all this? When did this start? Like, we're filming this in February 2021, and the episode released end of January, right? So
Yeah.
when did this start? Like, when did you start promoting it? And so basically, yeah, sorry.
So I should specify, I think the first thing that really, really blew up was the trailer that I put together.
I'm talking about even before that, because I saw stuff before that. I mean, it was out
Oh
there in like the
yeah.
fan groups and everything. Before that, like, when did this project begin? Like, when did you first start working on this? Just to give everybody an idea of how long it has taken.
I think from the very beginning was probably in April of 2020. So that's when I first kind of started putting stuff out there. And then I worked on the trailer, and then I put that out, I think in March, maybe. That I could be wrong, but yeah, it was early-ish 2020.
I know you live in the US, and I mean, obviously it happened all around the world, but US was one of like the places it was happening in April. The pandemic that is still going on, this is kind of right after it started. Did that play into maybe you had time to work on it, or you just had more ideas, or did that really kick you into gear, or was that just a coincidence?
Yeah, no, this was definitely a quarantine-inspired project for sure. Obviously, like I had a lot of free time, so that definitely, yeah, it was definitely a quarantine project. COVID played a large role in the conception of everything. So yeah.
Yeah. So it took you about, I would say, like around, it sounds like about 9 or 10 months between the inception and the release of the premiere. So how
Yeah.
did you go about getting people on board? Because I know you did a lot of things on this show, but I know you weren't the only person working on it. So how did you go about getting like the pre-production phase, like getting people involved, getting the story together, just all that stuff?
I think the trailer that I put out is what really kickstarted all of that, because before I put that out, I never intended for this to be like a full like produced project. Like it was just an idea, just like a cool idea that I wanted to put out there. But when I released the trailer, obviously it blew up and there's a lot of interest. So from that point onward, I decided to just go with it, I suppose. So if you want to call it full production, that didn't really start until September. And then the months after the trailer dropped was just I was finding voice actors. So
Yeah, I remember there's a pretty big
yeah.
search and like everyone was trying out and everything. So like how many people did you end up getting to trying out for that? Because I heard a lot about that last summer.
Yeah, it was a lot. If I had to estimate, I'd probably say maybe around 500,
Oh my
which
goodness.
was crazy.
I was expecting a high number. I was not expecting 500. Wow.
Yeah. Um, I must admit, like I wasn't able to watch every audition, even though I wanted to. I tried so hard, but yeah, I think the people that I didn't end up finding for the cast, I just really lucked out with, because everybody did a great job
Yeah, they were
auditioning, but
amazing.
yeah, I don't think I would have been able to find anyone better than who I ended up finding. So yes, I got very lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in terms of the other sides of the project besides the voice actors, was there anyone helping you with anything else from editing, animating, any other form of production, or was it just you and then the voice actors?
So the first thing we did was I had the voice actors record all of their lines, because I felt like it would be easier to have that done before I did the animation.
That's how
So
real, or not real, but like professional studios, I think, tend to do it as well, unless you're
yeah,
dubbing anime, in which case
yeah.
karaoke.
Um, Yeah, disclaimer, I had no idea what I was doing. Like I'm not a professional animator or producer in any way. Like this was a completely amateur project. Um, so yeah, after the voice actors recorded their lines, I started the animation. I did pretty much everything myself, which might be evident in the final project. I'm not that great of an animator, but thank you. I did have a few people help out though. AJ Winter, you can check out his channel on YouTube. He is a very skilled animator. I was very lucky to have him. He did a few of the assets. Like I don't at the beginning of the episode, there's like an eagle that flies across the screen. He did that. So yeah, he did a few small things here and there, but um, yeah, it was a very small crew, so we didn't really. It was a lot of work for us, which I think is why it took so long, obviously. But yes, it was very bare bones.
It does not appear like that in the final project. It's really it's awesome. I cannot stress
Thank
that
you.
enough. I also want to ask about the music because you guys didn't use the theme song for the show. You used your own music, and I think there was some music in the background of certain scenes as well. And there was the beginning theme and the ending theme. So how did that come about? Was that worked on? Because I thought that was really cool.
So my dad actually composed the theme song uh, because I wanted to do something new, obviously for copyright reasons. I didn't want to just straight up use the old theme because I thought that the project would qualify under fair use. I don't know if I can say that's the case looking back on it. But I mean, we did try everything we could to try to make it as different as possible. Like we wanted it to have its own identity, but also respect the original show, of course. But yeah, my dad composed the theme song, and then the everything else I did in GarageBand. So very unprofessional, but I did my best. I'm not a music person, so yeah, it was
Yeah, you
difficult.
had to
But
wear a lot of different hats for this. Which ones were you most comfortable with, would you say, going into this, and which ones were more of a challenge for you? Like, obviously, you said the music. Were there any others?
I think the music was definitely very challenging. I had no idea what I was doing, which is kind of a running theme here, but it's kind of a miracle that it turned out the way that it did, if I'm being honest. But yeah, the music, the animation, I had fun with the animation. I was learning as I went because I've never done animation before. So I'd say those two things are probably the most difficult. Um, I enjoyed writing. I think I enjoyed that the most, but everything else I was jumping into like a deep, jumping into the deep end. I didn't know what I was doing at all. So yeah.
I find with a lot of these fan productions, I think the writing is one of the creators' favorite parts because their whole goal is to tell more of a story with characters they love, and that's why they want to do it. That's their motivation. So, speaking of the writing, what made you decide to pick the characters that you did to return? And yeah, basically that. And like, what made you pick this time period in their lives? This is a story set in the future for the characters that were teenagers in the original show, just to give
Yeah.
everybody a bit of background. And now it's 15 years later,
Mhm.
and they're going back to compete again. And just what was your like process behind the story? Like, what parts of the story came first? Maybe some other parts came later. Just tell me the whole story behind the story.
Um, I guess it all really just came from the general the basic concept of like what would these characters be like as adults, like as 30-year-old adults. Um, I thought it would just be interesting, an interesting concept, I suppose. So that's kind of where everything started, and then I sort of built the story around that, if that makes any sense. So yeah, I don't know. I guess I just wanted to create something that I would want to see personally. just because I don't know, that's just the type of thing that speaks to me, like being able to grow up with the characters you loved as a kid. So yeah, as for the characters themselves, I kind of just picked characters that I thought had a lot of story potential, but there wasn't, I wouldn't say there was too much rhyme or reason. It was just, I don't want to say I picked my favorite characters because that might make me seem biased, but that's kind of what I did.
Well, I mean, you're doing this series, like obviously you should pick your favorite characters because usually those are the ones that you have story ideas for. So I was gonna ask, like, who are your favorite characters and what are your favorite moments from the original series? So I guess we have the answer for characters, just go look at the poster.
Yeah.
But what about favorite moments? Anything that inspired, that made you really want to write about this series and the like made you fall in love with the show in the first place? Anything like that that stands out to you? I know it's been a long time since some of these episodes came out. We're actually hitting the 15th anniversary for this show in real life next year.
I know,
So,
it's crazy.
yeah, I'm surprised it's still going in any form, honestly.
Yeah.
Even in the Total Dramarama Kids spinoff, like it's like, wow.
Well, I think that's a testament to what the original creators over at Fresh TV were able to create. It speaks to so many people. Even if the format has changed over the years, like it it's a real testament to what they created that people are still like so obsessed with it. Like it's pretty crazy. Um, yeah, I think the first season of the show was my favorite. I wanted to really try to replicate the tone. I feel like the tone was a bit more mature in that season. Um, so yeah, I just think I don't really have a specific favorite moment, but I think the character dynamics are really, I think that element was the strongest part of the show, in my opinion. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think that
yeah,
was the best part.
that's good. That's good. So getting into the actual release of this show, there was like, it was almost like a huge marketing campaign. Like you had like, here's an exclusive clip, here's another clip, here's like,
Yeah.
you released like a bunch of stuff from the first episode, like before it even aired. And like, I think it got people really excited. You said the trailer was one thing that really, really blew up.
Hmm.
What just like getting to this, like kind of foreshadowing what we're going to be talking about later, was there any inkling that there might be copyright issues? Like I know you were saying you were trying to avoid that as much as possible, so that was in your head while you were working on it. Was there
Yeah.
anything you were trying to do specifically to like avoid that? Did you get a feeling that you might get into trouble at all with that while you were working on it, or while it was being promoted, or any time before the actual release?
So throughout the whole process, like I was aware that there was a possibility it could be taken down. Like I was accepting of that. Like I knew that. It happens to fan projects all the time. Like I I was completely willing to accept that eventuality. So when it happened, like yeah, it was disappointing, but like I've said this in my statement, but I just want to say it again, like Fresh TV was completely in their legal right. So like I'm not gonna, there's nothing I can do about it. And also like I realized that they're just doing what they had to do. So like I was fine with it. I cooperated with them. Like it is what it is. It's
It's okay,
fine.
it's okay. We haven't gotten to that yet. It's fine. You don't need to
Yeah.
do this yet. I just want to know while you were getting ready to put it. It's fine. No, if you want to say now, it's fine. I'm just saying. Don't
I guess what
worry.
I'm trying to say is that I appreciate the journey. I think we were just having fun, so
Okay.
that's what matters most to me.
Okay. So the show actually comes out. And what were your expectations on like how the show was going to do? Because it did very well in the few days it was up on the internet. It got over, I think, was it 1.2 million views or something?
I think so.
It
It
was
was in
definitely
that
over a
ballpark.
million.
Yeah.
That
Hmm.
was like in like less than a week. And like this is huge because like this is like, I know Total Drama was big back in its day, but like it's this little Canadian show. And I can say that I'm Canadian. It's okay. I can like be little Canadian things that I want to. And no, I mean like I love the show, but I'm just saying. And it was like, it wasn't like this huge, it's not like it's Adventure Time level of fan base or whatever, for example. It's not that level of huge fandom. And then like it gets this amount of views. Like, was this a surprise? Was this were you getting a feeling that maybe it would get a big audience based on the trailer reaction? What were you all thinking, like you and your team, I guess?
So we had an inkling that it might do pretty well just based off of the trailer, obviously, and we kind of been building towards it, so we knew like people were looking forward to it. I don't think any of us expected it to get on trending.
Number 6, right? That's what it peaked at
Yeah, that
on YouTube.
was,
Holy crap.
yeah. That was very surreal to say the least. um yeah, I don't think any of us have really like completely accepted that that happened yet. Like I think everybody's kind of like, I for one am still kind of in a haze. Like I just can't believe that happened. But yeah, it was crazy. I don't think any of us expected it to go to that level, for sure.
This might be a tough question, but has that been like a consolation towards whatever after everything that happened, or is it more like, oh no, like we were just hitting our stride and then this happened? Like, what's it like to go from that to what happened after, which we'll get to in a second, everybody. I know that's what everyone's here for, probably.
I mean, it was very interesting just because, yeah, like we're on a high and then we went right to a low, like as soon as that happened. But I don't know, because I was expecting that to be a possibility, like I wasn't like that crushed. Like I knew, like I knew that it might happen.
Were you expecting that it was going to be more likely after it got so big? Were you
Yeah, I
like
think hitting
anticipating it? Were
trending,
you nervous?
yeah, definitely. I think hitting trending was a blessing and a curse. Because I think it put us on Fresh TV's radar, which is fair. But yeah, so I don't know. It it the fact that it happened is enough for me. Like it demonstrates that people are still so invested in this show, and I hope that maybe Fresh TV sees that interest and maybe does something with it. Who knows? But I mean, that was
Yeah.
one of my main goals with the project. So I guess
I
we'll have to
mean,
wait and see.
this whole controversy has been good publicity from them. So, or maybe, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
bad publicity, but good publicity in that any publicity is good. So they want to take advantage of it. Just saying, Fresh. So speaking of Fresh, a few days after you release the show, it's getting a billion views. You get an email. Can you tell us about what that was like? How you kind of were dealing with it? You felt? Okay, how you broke it to your cast and crew? How you discussed it with them?
Yeah, so I got the email and obviously it was disappointing. But I accepted it. I knew it was in all likelihood going to happen eventually. So, and yeah, I told everybody, we have like a group chat, me and the cast and the crew and everybody. So I told them first before anybody else. And obviously everyone was disappointed, but I think at the end of the day, like we all have grown to a state of acceptance. So yeah, I mean, we're good. We're good.
And what about when you first had to, like, when the fans kind of caught wind of it, when you first breaking it to the fans, what was that like? And then the fans it kind of snowballed. Um, what was sort of the process going on there? Because I understand even some of the voice actors were kind of got caught up in that. I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, and I don't expect you to. I'm just saying, like, it kind of became this big thing that, like, this anti-fresh mob mentality. So what was that like for you? Were you trying to control it? Like, how did that, I don't know, what was your reaction? Like, how did you try and, like, you're trying to calm everybody down. I know you had to release several statements. Just tell us what that was like.
Yeah, it's hard because I feel like I made my stance on the issue known from the very beginning. I said like, yeah, this sucks, but Fresh TV like is in their right to do this. So like sending hate their way is not acceptable. Like that's not going to solve anything. Um, Obviously it happened anyway. So yeah, that was very disappointing to me. It was hard because in some ways I felt responsible, but yeah, it just when something like snowballs like that and sort of grows a life of its own, there's only so much you can do. I think I did all that I could do. So I think it's definitely died down at this point, but yes, it was very alarming when I first saw the response that Fresh was getting. And it was important to me to try to combat that as best that I could, I suppose. So yeah, that's kind of where
So
my headspace
yeah,
was.
the Christian Potenza video comes out, and I think that really fired the flames even bigger, because there were calls of him being condescending towards you, and he seemed to blame you and like said certain things like your little production or whatever. And then it's a very mixed message kind of video. And then you were supposed to, the plan was for you to have a live stream with him on Reddit, I believe, moderated by one of the Reddit mods, and he wanted you to be on that. And you ended up declining. So can you just give us like some insight into maybe why you ended up declining, how you initially felt about the video, and just what's going on with that side of things? I think that's what people are wondering about now at this point with all this.
So yeah, all I can really say about that is that I understand where Christian was coming from. So my first instinct was just to make it known that I was on his side. Because obviously, again, like I wasn't the one that was in the right in this situation. Like Fresh TV was justified. So yeah, regardless of what I thought of the actual content of the video, I think what was most important to me was just to continue to make a stance, I suppose. Um, I can understand where he's coming from, because like if you are getting hate, like you're not, it's hard to say the right things. Like he was probably coming from a place of, I mean, if I were in his shoes, I would be like scared. So I was just trying to kind of empathize with him, I
Right, so
suppose.
people were sending like threats and hate to him. Like, for those who don't know, he's one of the voice actors on the show Total Drama. He's not the producer, he's not the one calling the shots, but he is kind of like, he has been kind of like the spokesperson, I guess, for Fresh. He's been doing YouTube videos for like a decade on and off about them and with them and stuff. But like, yeah, so I guess he was getting hate, like, because really?
Yeah, it was
Wow.
crazy. Yeah, I I think partly he got some hate because he made that video. Um,
Was he getting hate
so
before the video and that's why he made the video, or do you think,
I'm
or like
not
does
I'm
he just
not
did it?
sure.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
because I'm like, wow, that's just wow.
Well, that's what's scary about it. It's like I don't know what's happening. Like I can only take the word of the people that are being affected by it. So it's like it's hard like not knowing the scope of it, and that can be kind of scary. So
Did
yeah.
anyone with Fresh communicate with you again? I'm assuming the mod on the Total Drama Reddit did about all this. Just to, was there any more further communication on that sort of sense after the initial email, like directly to you, not just these YouTube videos? Okay, can you tell us about
Oh,
that?
oh no,
Okay,
no.
it
Fresh
wasn't.
TV has
It's
not
not
reached
Fresh.
out to me. No.
What did the mod say? How were you approached for this thing with Potenza?
Um, so I think the initial idea was just the idea was floated around of doing a live stream with him just so we could make a stance, I suppose. For me, it seems like every time somebody made a video or said something on the issue, it just added fuel to the flames. So I just thought it would be best personally to just step back, because I had already made multiple statements. Like I'd already made my opinion on the situation known. I didn't see what my input could really add, further input could add.
I'm
That's where I was
glad
coming
and kind of surprised you agreed to do this interview, because I was fully expecting, once I saw you canceled the Potenza thing, I'm like, okay, here comes the email. We're not doing the interview now. I'm very glad you decided to come on still and talk about this. And I feel like this is maybe more of a, I'm hoping it's a relaxed environment right now. I mean, if there's any comments, hopefully they'll just come on my channel and I can deal with them, like the haters. do that, hopefully. So if you want to send hate, send it to me. Don't send it to Adam. Just saying that now. But yeah, so yeah. As for Total Drama Reunion, I know you have said, and the team has said, you want it to continue in some form. Is the whole story done? Have you had all the episodes planned out? How many episodes were there even going to be? And like, what was the original plan for that? And what's the plan now?
So I had the whole storyline planned out. I only had 2 scripts completely finished. So yeah, I would love to continue the story in some form. I don't know if I will, but if I do, it will be in a legal and safe way. I'd want to do it in a way where it's like undeniable that it would qualify under fair use, if that makes any sense. So yeah, but like no guarantees, but it's we've thought about it, we've discussed maybe continuing the story, but I think some of us kind of just want to move on from the whole situation, so we'll see. I don't know.
So you have clearly a production channel, Blu Productions. So I assume you want to do more stuff beyond Total Drama Reunion, even if you're not going to do more Total Drama Reunion. So what kind of stuff do you want to work on? Is it more animation? Is it more something else? And what kind of stuff are you thinking about for the future?
Yeah, well, one thing that I've really learned throughout this project is that like animation is actually really fun. So yeah, I'd love to do more animated stuff. I'd love to put out like original content. That was kind of my goal from the beginning, but I kind of got sidetracked with this project. So yeah, I'd love to put out my own stuff, animated, or otherwise.
And you have a whole team with the voice actors now. Have you talked about working with them again in the future? Because those guys and ladies and such are really talented. Some of them I know are
Yeah.
doing more than one voice, and they could like do the voices like very differently, very well, like professional voice actors, and just they were amazing. And I know some of them do other stuff on YouTube as well and such. So have you ever considered collaborating with them maybe?
Yeah, that's something that we've definitely talked about. I'd love to work with them again. Like, I don't like, part of me just wants to work with them forever because they're just so awesome. But yeah, I don't, I, if I do something else that requires voice acting, I can't think of anybody else to help me out. So yes, I'd love to bring them back
Team
on.
now. So if anything good has come of this, besides the fandom being reborn, or not reborn, but like reignited for better and for worse, maybe, it is that you now have a platform. You have a fan base of your own now. You've been getting more subscribers. So I'm glad you have that. Is there anything you want to say to your fans, to the people who were looking forward to Reunion or want to see your stuff in the future? Is there any last words on that front?
Yeah, to everybody that's been supporting me through this whole journey, I just like to say thank you. All of the support, like I'd never expected it to the level that it's been. And so it's very humbling, to say the least. Please don't send hate to Fresh TV. And yeah, I guess bottom line, I just want to say thank you because none of this would have been possible without you guys. So yeah, thank you.
One last thing, where can we find you on social media, the internet, YouTube, anywhere? What do you want us to go check out for more Blu Productions?
Besides my YouTube channel, you can follow me on Instagram, and I also have a Twitter. So you can follow me on either of those 2 platforms if you want.
That's
Or
great.
not, that's okay too.
Okay. Well, you have the option. So thank you so much for coming out with us, to hang out with us, and hopefully we will get to maybe talk again in the future when you have your next big project hitting millions and millions of views, which I'm sure will happen someday because you are very talented.
Oh,
And I'm very
thank
excited to
you.
see what is coming up for you next. And yeah, thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. And yeah, go check out Blu Productions. Got some good stuff going on there.